Hello and welcome to Overton Audios podcast. My name's Colin Chadwick.
And I'm Eamon Longman.
And on today's podcast, I'll be discussing Meddlesome Volume 1 with Joshua Griggs.
And then later there'll be the big finish discussions with Connor.
And just wanted to say thank you to our Patreons, Anya Coyle, Peter Scott, TT Productions 23, Chelsea Lagan, Delta Effect, and Joe Eddings. So, Eamon, how have you been?
I'm good. I've been good. I've been wonderful.
Doing a lot of editing,
I have been. Yeah, I'm nearly done on episode 7 of Kiwi Season 1.
You've edited... I want to say edited episodes 4, 5, and 6 between the last podcast recording. That was the end of May when we recorded that.
Yeah, then yes. 4, 5, 6, and then most of 7.
That's cool. That's cool. You're getting into a bit of an editing drive. Is it one of those things where it's like, you're in an editing drive because you're like, oh no, I've run out of time, or oh,
it was me going,
I'm enjoying it.
Shit, the volume comes out soon.
Yeah, but now you're editing for the next volume, aren't you?
Yeah. What I've been doing is I just turn on movies, and I just stay awake all night and just edit.
Well, that sounds healthy.
It's great. It's quite nice, actually. It's quite peaceful.
And again, your sleeping pattern has become a little bit inverted recently. You are a little bit more of a night owl these days.
Yeah, I've become your guy's sleeping schedule, which is really handy because I come over in 26 days.
You do, sir. Indeed.
Yeah, from the date of this recording, I fly in 26 days. And then the next podcast might have to be me in person.
That's true. The next one, the next podcast will be you and I together.
In the same room.
Oh. You know what I think we should do?
Cheddars and I in the same room.
You know what I think we should do?
What's that?
Oh, actually, it might not be the next podcast.
Chelsea.
You know? No, it might not be the next podcast because the next podcast comes out at the beginning of August. No, it depends on when we record it because you're arriving on the 29th of July. So it depends on when...
No, I forgot that August exists.
Yeah, so it might be a case of that we have to record. It might be a bit of both. If we leave it really, really to the last minute, you could be in 2 podcasts with me in person. If we leave it really, really
I could
late.
be in the next one. Yeah, like this one. And we're recording it on the 2nd of July.
Yeah, but we could. But we could be in 2 podcasts together in person, back to back, which would be nice.
We could do the September one with Chelsea in it.
That's true. I was thinking actually that because you're going to be here for a month and we're going to be going into different places, we could literally, because again, for people listening, we don't know if we're going to be able to do this yet, but I know that you were wanting to go to Cardiff. We could just record the beginning of the segment stood next to the water tower so we can hear the water dripping and us going, hello, welcome. And then
it's just Sutton in the background screaming.
Yeah, and then you wanted to go to the Science Museum so we could record the next section of the podcast there and just have the TARDIS hum in the background. Like, hello, everyone.
We could do all of it.
Anyway,
you could get a visual cut of it.
Yeah, and then
you could release a visual cut of the podcast.
Oh my god, we could.
We could take beach chairs everywhere.
Yes,
all like fold out beach chairs and put them down in front of the tower, and then we put them down in the TARDIS.
But we do it a bit like
then we need to go. Then we need to go to Oxford because I want to go see Lyra's bench from His Dark Materials, and we'll film the last bit on the bench.
Yeah, but we could do it a bit like. Have you seen that podcast called Podcasts But Outside?
Yeah,
they just take a table and chairs to a random location, just record.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah,
I'd be down for that. Cheddars and Eamon in a zoo. In
the pen as the lions walk around us and we're like, hello.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi.
We're going to do some comics
fucking looking
now.
at me.
Yeah, just a
Some commentary.
lion.
I don't have Wi-Fi, but also the lion's staring at me.
Yeah, it's like he's like the lion stood right next to us, staring at us, and we're like, "Let's gonna do some comments reading." Like just,
And
just
then like about
bites
halfway
us.
through, it just starts eating one of us. And it's Houston going, Michael Cox says, wonderful story. And you can hear me in the background going,
The
and it's
amount
just
of
Houston going,
chaos.
Michael Cox really liked that story. And you can just hear me in the background just being torn apart limb by limb.
Oh God, Amy.
as you're trying to remain calm because you know you're next.
I must finish reading these comments quickly. We must wrap up the podcast.
Sutton would finally get the podcast then.
Yes, that's true. That's true. You've been trying to,
you'd hear us
off
being mauled.
me.
You'd hear us just destroyed, and then the October podcast would go, "Hello, welcome to the Overton Audios podcast. My name is James Sutton. The other two died, so now I run this bitch."
Who would it be if both of us died in a lion attack? Who would take over? Sutton and Chelsea?
It'd be like Sutton and Dom. It'd be Sutton and
Really?
Dom, I reckon.
I'd say that Chelsea.
I think it'd be Sutton and Dom.
But Chelsea and Sutton have that love-hate kind of dynamic.
Yeah, no, they could work. They might work actually.
Sutton would say something,
like
and then Chelsea, and yeah, Sutton would say something.
Chelsea would run over from Ireland and beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, or just go, "Shut up, Sutton,"
during the podcast.
I'd always love those moments when we're on like Zoom calls and he'll say something with his intrusive thoughts, and then Chelsea will just go, "Shut up, Sutton." He goes, "Okay." Like he doesn't question.
He understands.
Yes, he understands the dynamic. And I think they'd have a good dynamic because me and Dan with the hosting Pariah, we had a very formal setup. We would just say things as they were, and we'd have little fun discussions, but they always felt a bit maybe not too formal, but they felt very formal. Whereas we've started out being quite formal, but I think last month's podcast was the most relaxed I'd ever been.
Yeah.
Because I think at that point
it's terrifying.
I think I just stopped caring for that a little bit. I was just like, we need to like just record it. Let's have a bit of fun with it.
Every time you become relaxed, it's terrifying.
Well, we had a massive argument the last time I became really, really relaxed. Do you remember Push the Button?
Oh, yeah.
That's a game for everyone listening. Yeah, there's a game called Push the Button on Jackbox. I became very, very relaxed and not worrying about the game. And they lost the game because I stopped caring. And everyone turned on one another.
Sutton and I really cared for that game.
You cared for that game and I didn't.
It's because Sutton and I figured out who the aliens were. We figured it out and we were correct. And you voted the wrong person out and got us killed. And Sutton and I were, and then everyone went, "Well, you've lost. You didn't guess it." And Sutton and I went, "No, we did get it though. We got it. Connor screwed us."
Yeah, and I was like,
you sitting in the corner going, "Well, you lost." And we were like, "No, we didn't." It was great. It was fun times.
I think that went way too far to a point where we banned the game for about 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, no, we weren't allowed near it.
We have played it again since, but I've learned since not to relax.
Yeah, no, you can't. Sutton and I get really competitive with that.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of friendship, ladies and gentlemen. You learn, and when you learn, you change, and you be better, and you evolve. And then
imagine Sutton and I solving crimes together.
You'd never.
We'd guess the killer. And then someone else would get arrested, and then we'd get arrested for beating up whoever arrested the wrong person.
Just imagine you and Sutton just piling on this police officer who's arresting them. Get off him!
We should do an escape room when I'm over. I love escape rooms.
Yeah, we should get. Oh, do you know we should really get to be in the escape room? Dominating. They work really, really well together.
Dominating. I think they work excellently together.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I think the two of them would combine their efforts and really work together really well to get out.
Their shared intelligences. So what have I been up to this month then?
What have you been up to this month?
So the Coventry job I keep talking about, that should have
Nothing.
finished. That's finished.
Oh,
What else?
whoa.
We filmed something for TT Productions in the middle of the month. Something for it's some. I mean, Abby talked about it briefly. It's called the Quinn arc. Um, and that'll be something that comes out next year. Probably talk about it on the podcast when that's coming out. What else? I've been doing a lot of editing. Honestly, we've done really well in editing this new. I've mentioned before this new 10-part series called Inquisition of a Time Lord. We've done really, really well with that, and we're about halfway through it already in the 10-part episode. It's been 10-part episode, yeah, 10-part story. We've done really, really well with it, and yeah, Abby's been helping me edit that as well. That's how we've done really well. But I'm starting to find a good balance between editing and everything like that, and I'm making some good headway because originally, like the volume after the one that we're talking about today, Meddlesome, I only finished editing this month, or should I say June. So I'm making really good headway now that we're into October's releases, and then we'll be really, really close. Indeed.
Very good.
Speaking of progress, as I've just mentioned, Meddlesome. Shall we go to the segment where I talk to Joshua Griggs about Meddlesome Volume 1?
I think we should.
Very good. Overton Audios presents.
From now on, Edith will be assisting you on your missions as your companion.
You have got to be kidding me. Ugh. See what I mean?
So, what's the mission?
It's quite simple, really. This planet is in perpetual darkness because someone or something has created a temporal cloud around the planet.
Hang on a minute. That man is a Time Lord. I've got to help him.
My name is Edith. I came from a planet called Earth. That man is a Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey and goes by the name of the Monk.
She speaks of other worlds, just like that man did.
Where can I find this great inventor?
What are you doing here?
You know what I am.
Yes, you're a ravenous.
Why is he here if you were already meddling?
Apparently, he's trying to meddle with his own past.
Aren't you going to pay me for that information?
Or should I?
Why, you...
Let's get this over with, shall we?
You're just giving up?
She's got a void catalyzer pointed at us.
Goodbye, Time Lord.
Meddlesome, Volume 1. Coming the 8th of July 2023 at 12 p.m. And welcome back to the podcast. And I'm joined here by Josh Griggs. Hello, Josh.
Hello, Connor.
How are you?
I'm doing very well, in a very good mood, and for once I have a lot of energy.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, with me, this current heat wave we're going through, it just gets very muggy for me, so I'm always in a state of kind of tiredness and stuff. But I have got an audio drama edited today, which was nice. It's a nice short one because I've now got through all the heavy audios for the year, and it's just little small ones now with 15 to 20 pages, which is nice and quick, really. So yeah, it's been nice. But yes, I thought we'd talk a little bit about Meddlesome. And of course, probably start off the best place with the journey of the monk, really, in terms of there was a bit of a. When did I cast you now?
I think it was early on when we first started messaging each other. I want to say it was during lockdown that you cast me.
Yeah, because I get the feeling that I cast you around 1.5 to 2 years before you got your first script.
Yes, that does ring a vague bell because
that would place it as 2019.
Jesus Christ, I didn't think it was that long ago.
Well, yeah, the Cravat Doctor and the Rani volume only came out April 2022. And we recorded it, and we would have recorded it much earlier.
Yes, because I remember I recorded that in 2021, I think.
Yeah, I'm opening up my little cast schedule now. You record your lines for Marcus Merry, as he was called in this, on the 3rd of May 2021.
Blimey.
That's 2 years ago. Oh, time
Don't
flies.
think of that. Yeah, that's crazy.
How have we managed that? I'm just gonna have a quick look in our messages as well whilst we discuss it, and just type in the word monk and see what the earliest reference is to it.
I'm just scrolling through it now because it's like I'm through like our messages from when we were originally talking on Instagram.
Oh, really? Is that where it started?
Yeah, it started on Instagram because I remember I would constantly nag you.
Oh yeah, yeah. You also didn't you also guess the big twist
Right, yes. I
with Uncharted Past?
That was by sheer coincidence, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, because you were like, oh, by the way, this character, are they well, I can say who they were, but I won't say which character you're referring to at the time. You're like, this character, are they the master? And we were like, oh, really?
It was like it wasn't it originally not even like Daniel's fault. It was because the person playing him like
no. I'm sorry if Dan, you're listening to this. I do blame Dan because when he wrote, well, when we did volumes 3 and 4, it was during lockdown. It was when we'd actually finished most of the Uncharted Past story that he decided that he wanted to try and do a Christmas special, because we recorded volume 3 and most of 4 in 2020, and volume 3 didn't come out until the beginning of 2021. Volumes 3 and 4 basically came out about a month or so between one another. So volume 4 was a nightmare to get recorded. I can't tell you. Volume 3 got recorded in literally the entire volume, all 4 episodes, every cast member recorded within a week. We got volume 3 done so quickly. It's the fastest thing I've ever made. And then volume 4 took 10 months. I can't, waiting for lines, and then anyway, he'd made volume. We'd done that, and then as volume 3 was done and volume 4 was nearly there, Dan said, "Can I do a Christmas special?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, no worries. That'd be nice to do as an interlude between 2 and 3." So we went all the way back to before volume 3 and did this story. And then he wrote in this particular character to do a kind of a little chuckle to himself after saying a line, and that was that chuckle made you go, "That's the master."
It was that chuckle that made me go, hang on.
The thing is, it wasn't the actor.
Theory.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't the actor who did that. It says in the script, "evil chuckle." I said to Dan, we had it, and you just wrote "evil chuckle," and then obviously the voice actor.
This close.
Yeah, we were this close to greatness, but he literally just wrote in the "evil chuckle," and then obviously the voice actor had already recorded his lines as the master anyway, so he just did his master chuckle. So it was like, oh, really? No. And I said to him, and during the edit, I went, "I'm going to say we should cut the chuckle." I said we should cut it. And he said, "No, it's not that obvious." Came out, you noticed it immediately, and I said, "Told you, I fucking told you." And now everyone knows.
Never give.
It wasn't enough that you told me of a private message that then you had to go onto the fan Discord and go, "Hey everyone."
I had to start spreading my theory out.
To which I don't know if you remember when Dan ended up responding to you on the Discord going, "No, it's not him." And you go, "Well, I'll continue thinking he is until you prove me otherwise." And then Dan just messaged me going, "Okay, I see what I've done."
Yeah, no. What was funnier was when Volume 3 started coming out and other people were joining my little trend.
Yeah, I was like, "Dan, you've ruined your biggest twist. I don't know how you've done this." Well, I know you've done this. You made the man evilly chuckle to himself when no one was suspicious of him.
Oh, it was great though. It was still great. It was just I had this moment of pride when the reveal happened.
Yeah, you certainly did. But yeah, we did that. But that was think I still haven't found the messages from when we first talked about the monk, but it was definitely a year in advance. So let's say lockdown year, but I reckon it was late 2019, really, when we kind of started having there were little whispers about it.
Yeah.
It didn't really sort of like, and also there was a time when you went around telling everyone that you were going to play that character.
Right. Okay. I told 2 people.
Uh-huh.
I told 2 people, and those people, one of them was an absolute liar because neither of them had apparently told anyone. And then all of a sudden, I got a message from you going, "You've told people that you're the monk, aren't you?" I was like, 2 people. Yes, I literally only told 2 people, and then somehow it spread like wildfire.
Well, somebody spoke and was like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
But it's like someone messaged you who I hadn't even spoken to about it.
Yeah.
Initially saying that they found out that I was the monk, and I was so confused because neither of the people that I had told had apparently spoken to them. So one of them was lying.
Yeah. So there was a brief amount of time where you weren't the monk again, and then it went back to you being the monk, and then we made the Cravat Doctor and the Rani volume where you played Marcus Merry, and you, like as I mentioned earlier, you recorded that on the 3rd of May 2021. And
yes,
it was shortly after that. I can't remember if it was after. I can't remember the story. The story to make this volume has at least taken 2 years. I think you started writing this more than like 2.5 years ago. So I remember there have been quite a few script edits of these episodes that have been done.
Yes, because I
did one version and then it changed again.
Yeah, it completely changed. I think when I actually asked you about the series, I was like halfway through writing one of the later episodes of it, and
Yeah.
I'd already written. I'd already written like the first 2,
Mm.
and then I went, "Hey Connor, can we make this happen?" And then you just went,
Oh my god!
"Yeah, sure."
I've just stumbled upon a fan edit you made. It's called Doctor
Oh,
Who.
no.
Doctor Who: The Suicide Squad.
Oh no, we don't talk about that video.
It's not a video. It's a cover art.
Oh no, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got you. It's got Julia Breslin, and it's got Devlin and Tig, and that was like a concept of thinking.
No, that one.
Yeah,
that
it was like
one. Yes.
That was February 2022. You made that.
Yes, because I got very bored and I wanted to work on some Photoshop stuff, and I just had photos lying around.
Well, that's actually something we're still sort of thinking about. I know that Eamon wants to do like a kind of Guardians of the Galaxy type thing, but either way, it's still a James Gunn related thing. So it's like, yeah, okay. He wants to do something like what they're kind of planning to do. Do you really watch or follow the MCU Marvel sort of stuff?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I've not seen the new Guardians film yet.
He wants to do something similar to what that looks like at the moment they're doing with Thunderbolts.
Right. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, but I'm still like, you can write that if you want. I don't know if we'll make it. But yeah, anyway, I'm getting distracted way too easily at the moment. Meddlesome, you've had in your mind since at least 2021, and you want to do a monk series. Originally, I believe the concept was it was going to be different forms of meddling that then led into a paradox at the end of the volume.
Yeah, that's what it was at first.
Yeah, it's developed. Some of it stayed, some of it hasn't. But like you said, like when you sent over the original script, some of them changed completely. Like I think I can't remember what the original episode 2 was called. It's now become The Planet That Time Lost, but it was called something else completely beforehand, and it was a different story, everything like that. It's basically because I wasn't sure where it would fit in the schedule. It basically gave you the time to work on it and script edit or rewrite, etc.
Yeah, because I think I finished writing the very first versions of the volume, and then originally I was like, right, yeah, that's that done. I can move on. And then I think I looked over them one time last year, I think it was, and then I completely reworked it.
Yeah, but that's not always a bad thing as well, because at the end of the day, it's all about refinement, isn't it?
exactly, like especially because in the course of like a year or so, me personally, through writing, I developed and gotten much better at it. And so looking through it, I was like, yeah, there is so much of this that I could have made better. So I'm just gonna revive it and give it a bit of breath of fresh air that seems better and more acceptable in my terms.
Yeah, and then I think the final edits were done by about April or May last year. And then
Yes,
we started recording in the summer of last year, and it didn't get
we were meant to start
recorded.
recording in the summer.
Well, let's all right then. I'll reword it. Everybody else was doing some form of recording. It took so long to get done. Everyone, well, I know that you've been busy with exams anyway. And then trying to make sure that people recording their lines do it on time, but also knowing that if you can't record, then I can't make the volume. So it's one of those things where I was like, well, we'll wait for Josh to finish recording first, and then I'll cast the rest of the volume from any major characters. And then, of course, you weren't really free until the end of the year anyway, so it was like that. Okay, this volume's a mini limbo.
I felt so bad about that.
and then what was it? We got it recorded. We got your lines done by December, and then yeah, we got it. I think when did it finish recording? Actually, that's a good point. That's a good question for me. I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you know this as well. I've not edited. I've only edited episode 1. And the other 3 are edited by Abi Louise of TT Productions.
Yes, her editing's been very good because she's been the wonderful editor for the stuff I've been doing in TT.
Yes, like you've been at TT, you've been doing Tusks of London, haven't you?
Yes.
Of which you got myself and Michelle helping with one of the episodes.
Absolutely best casting decision ever.
Yeah. Also, I'm sorry I couldn't actually be there at the recording. I had Dom staying with me at the time, and he was trying to do something else, and we wouldn't be able to have recorded live properly.
That was completely fine. I mean, the end products anyway sounded great.
Oh, that's good. And then, but basically, we got that done. I edited episode 1. And then if anyone watches my monthly vlog, you'll have seen how stressed and busy I've been. But at work just got very, very tough, busy for about a month 2 to 3 months, really. To which I've been very lucky that people have wanted to edit for me, namely Abi. Abi got episodes 2, 3, and 4 edited.
Yes.
We had Isaac Blake, otherwise known as Motion Idea Films, on any social medias, making the cover arts. I made the cover art for episode 1, and then he made the covers for episodes 2, 3, and 4, and then there's the main, obviously, volume art. At this point, you've not even heard the trailer, have you?
I've heard none of it.
I should probably play you a bit of it, shouldn't I, before we started recording?
Yes, because I've only heard a segment from episode 2 that Abi edited.
Oh, right. Did she send it to you?
And she just showed, because she was busy. She was editing it at the time. She just sent me a little. Literally, it was just a tiny segment from the start of the episode.
Yeah, fair. I think it's probably like the stuff with Romana.
Yes, it was.
See, that's something that's been really nice, as well as that with Kat Furness as Romana. She's appeared quite frequently, but in this volume, she's pretty much in every episode involved with the monk from the Time Lord side of things. And it's been really nice as well, having Romana so much more involved in a main story. That's been really, really nice.
Yeah, that was one of the main things I really wanted when I came up with this solid story sort of arc. I knew I wanted Romana as one of the main parts within it, and I knew that I wanted it to specifically be Kat, just to give that sort of continuity.
Yeah, because I think we've pretty much said that this version of the of the monk is basically from the Cravat era.
Yeah.
So Romana's still played by Kat Furness at this point, so it just made sense with the era, because I always get a bit confused when Big Finish do like older masters with younger doctors, or vice versa, younger masters with older doctors. I'm just like, what timeline are we in?
Yeah, that was sort of that was also one of the things that slightly, even though I loved the Outlaws story in the first Doctor Adventures, that was the one thing that bugged me, was the fact that it was Rufus Hound's monk meeting the first Doctor, and the first Doctor didn't even bat an eye at the fact that the monk was in a different face.
Yeah. See, that's part of the continuity with the first Doctor that I struggle with, being a first Doctor fanboy like I am. Realistically, in terms of the continuity of the show, he wouldn't do. The Doctor never really comments when someone they know changes their face, like a Time Lord person they know. But that's because the show has evolved to be able to, with the continuity building and the lore building, that you don't need to mention it. Whereas in the first Doctor, everything was brand new. So they talk about wanting to recreate the era as faithfully as possible, which I think they do to an extent. But having like regeneration is still a very new, not even thought of concept within the first Doctor era. So having the first Doctor mention you know, got a new face or anything like that, the first Doctor should have mentioned that, because that's how they are, that's how their era is built up to be.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like, also, if anything, the Doctor should have been somewhat surprised by it, because obviously, according to him, so far, he's not regenerated before, and neither would, because the way I see it, Peter Butterworth is the first monk.
Yeah.
So he should have made some sort of comment, I felt.
Yeah, I get confused by Rufus Hound's monk's timeline, because he's met like nearly every Doctor, and I'm like,
I just get confused by the monk's timeline now in general, because it's like the understanding of the monk knowing the Time War is all over the place. Because the nun in Dalek Universe is supposedly before the Time War, but then she's supposedly also after Rufus, but Rufus lived the Time War. It's just complicated. But then I do love how in Missy they just ended up having the nun just state the fact of, it really doesn't matter what our timeline's like anymore. We're just a walking paradox.
Well, yeah, they've been meddling so much. Things going back and forth constantly. They can't be erased because they had to be there to meddle, and they can't. Yeah. They can't be erased no matter what. So either they have to be there to meddle, or they have to be there to fix it. Like the paradox,
exactly.
They can't be wiped out by a paradox that wasn't created by them if they don't exist anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a double negative
concept, because it's almost like the monk themselves has their own sort of semi-immortality.
Because it's what it is. It's like if a paradox wipes you out, but if you're wiped out, the paradox never happened, then are you truly wiped out?
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about the whole paradox idea.
Like it needs to happen, so you just become an anomaly instead, because you need to be there to make the paradox happen in order for the paradox to fix itself. It's complicated, but it makes sense in my head anyway. And yeah, but with this, with the volume that's been made, we can say little bits without really spoiling too much. But basically, the monk is he's on a few missions, isn't he, for Gallifrey?
Yes, he's been a very naughty boy, and he's now and he's now doing some missions for the Time Lords, which he's not very happy about.
No, and then he's at points for example, he's looking for someone called the Great Inventor, who of course you'll find out when you listen to the volume how important that person is.
Yes, because
there's lots of different things.
There's a lot of little that was a thing as well. There's a lot of different little Easter eggs and references dotted throughout it as well.
Yeah. And we've got some nice voice actors in there. We've got Emily Fleetum, playing Edith Williams, who is the what you might call companion of the volume. I know that the monk takes a bit of pleasure, but also in taking the mick out of the Doctor a little bit, going, "You're my companion, aren't you?" And all this, and she's like, "Well, I don't really want to be here," and all this sort of stuff.
Well, it's almost like, because the monk gets that little companion role and gets to have that companion beside him, and it's like that little thing that pushes him more into the side of almost being the Doctor, which is also another thing he doesn't like.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Doing these missions for Gallifrey, he's forced to fix things. He does not like fixing things.
Yeah, exactly. That was he's being forced to do the one thing he despises more than anything, which is do the complete opposite of what he feels like he was born to do.
Which, of course, as we all know, the monk is not just meddling, but he's also got a mischievous streak to him, which, of course, we do see quite a bit of in the volume, where wherever he can, he'll find ways to meddle or cause a bit of mischief along the way whilst completing a mission or two. But yes, we've had Emily Fleeton, which she's done a great job as well playing Edith. We've got Eamon Longman, who plays a couple of roles. I think let me think, who does he play?
He plays, doesn't he?
Sorry?
Like, doesn't he play Mendez in one of the episodes?
Yes, he plays Mendez. And then he plays a man who takes them into a field, or not a field, like a landscape on horseback in episode 2.
Yes, I know the one you mean. I can't remember his name for the life.
He plays a chancellor in episode 4.
Yes.
But yeah, he plays basically a new character each episode, but obviously different voices and everything like that. And then we've got Aidan O'Connor plays a character called Hunter in episode 2. He's a guy at a bar, not very happy man sort of thing. Obviously we've got Kat Furness as Romana, and then we've got, who was the other person? There was one other. Well, we've got Jed T. Rhodes playing the Great Inventor.
Yes.
And he was great in that role.
He told me recently about recording that, and it was great how he told me like the way he like processed the character and his own interpretation. It was great. Yes,
because obviously, like, there's, not the great. He wasn't born the great inventor, we'll say, but exploring more depths of that character and how it relates to the overall story was really, really interesting. I do love the way he delivered those lines. And then, of course, we had a couple of Overton brothers in there, and Michelle.
Yes, love a bit of Michelle. We got to have Michelle. I'm still trying to get this Michelle Willow's center stage volume.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll have to talk to her about it. She's very much used to playing background characters, and she quite enjoys that. But I'll have a chat with her. I'm sure she'll be fun.
Yeah, she's a phenomenal actress.
Yes, indeed. But yes, with regards to the story, there are some little bits that, because this is the thing that from the end of this month onwards, every volume has a slight reference to our 60th anniversary special type thing. So there are little things in Meddlesome that we've gone and looked at and gone, actually, we can take tiny elements of where this is referenced and bring it into the 60th and things like that, really. Same thing goes for other volumes afterwards leading up to the 60th, and of course, the big 60th happens. We are so close to it, if you think about it. We're only 5 months away from the 60th now.
That is crazy.
Yeah, do you remember when Flux came out and finished coming out, and it was just the week after the 58th anniversary? And it felt so far away, and now, realistically, it's actually in about a week's time, as of recording this, a week's time, it will be exactly 5 months.
That's going to be crazy. 5 months until the return of David Tennant.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be interesting. I think, aren't they releasing comics on the Doctor Who magazine that are like set between Power of the Doctor and this 60th?
Yeah, because there's been like little like comic strips of the 14th Doctor doing little adventures. Like it went from like the first one they did like a few months. I think it was the comic, the DWM after Power of the Doctor, maybe, where they had a post regen sort of thing. And then
yes, because I've seen some comic strips where they walk into 13's TARDIS, and then it's called Liberation of the Daleks, I think.
Yes, Liberation of the Daleks.
Yeah, because a lot of people were curious as to whether or not that will show like a new Dalek design. And a lot of people saw the latest Doctor Who magazine and issue and went, oh, it's a new Dalek design. And I looked at it and went, those are the
no, it's just classic design.
We've just gone back to classic Who. That's all. Look at them. They're red and yellow. They're literally the Peter Cushing Daleks.
They're literally what I've been wanting for the past 5 years.
Yeah. See, thing is, I really think that color scheme Daleks are undervalued now. I love color scheme Daleks.
It's all because of how well the whole Metaltron bronze Dalek got accepted back in RTD's era, and then obviously Moffat tried it and failed because.
But then you see, then you see the Big Finish covers, and they're doing it so well.
And then it's because you've got like, and then it's like I loved the designs they did for the Time Lord Victorious Daleks. They were perfect.
Yes. In fact, that's the Dalek Restoration Empire, where the Daleks there are meant to be the first of that type.
Yeah. It was beautiful. I loved the Executioner Dalek.
The one that has the red eye, that's almost like a sniper. You know, it's like but the thing is, it's like it's not just variants for variant's sake. We want it. We want variants that suit a role, because when you've got stuff like the Dalek Death Squad and they just look like normal Daleks except they've got a claw, and you're like, okay, claw, fair enough. But then you look at all the Daleks and they all had claws, and it's like, well, they're not really, like, they've just decided to go without a plunger for a few years.
Yeah,
that's it. Like, they're all gold.
And then you had the Gatling gun in Eve of the Daleks.
That was perfect. I wish we could have seen that in, like, imagine if they'd done that 10 years earlier for the Time War sequence. Well, that's a firing squad. That's a firing squad Dalek. Imagine that. Like, imagine like a brutal Time War scene with Time Lord soldiers lined up against a wall, because they're not gonna kill them immediately. They survived, and then the Dalek, like, squadron leader or whatever they had there, would just come in and just go, look at all the Daleks in the line, with these Gatling guns, and just go, just shout exterminate, and they all fire all of that at once just to make sure they're dead. Like, there's so much. The thing is, they should have had, like, for example, what was it? It was a War Doctor one with John Hurt, where there was a Dalek scientist, and it had blue Dalekanium.
The silver one.
Yeah, but then the base of the base of the gun section, the bronze circle around it that cuts off from the base to the gun, that was blue as well.
Yeah.
And that was it. I think it was still bronze on its top, but it was just had a blue ring around it, and then the bauble things at the bottom were blue as well.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why they stopped that, though, is because they can only see one blue color out of the eye stalk. So there's no point in having color schemes, because the Daleks don't see in color, which is understandable from the beginning.
The ones don't.
No, that's the thing. However, I've noticed, obviously, with Chibnall's era, they kind of got rid of the blue look, and have just made it more colorful.
Yeah, and then it's like, even like back in the day, like some of the older Daleks, like they didn't see in like one color. I mean, they did in Remembrance, but it's like, I want to say it was Destiny of the Daleks. Like the Dalek eye stalk was clear.
Yeah, they had that with Planet as well. Planet of the
Yes,
Daleks.
that was it.
Because there was ones where they had so many issues filming in that quarry. The Daleks were just basically thrown down a ramp and whatever speed they were going at, that was their normal speed. Just be looking like they were about to fly off the cliff, and they're like, stop! And then you just seeing the camera shake and everything, trying to follow the Dalek and look normal. And you're like, what's going on? But no, that's the thing. I think as well. If I kind of miss the Daleks having white eyes.
Yeah, that's so much. I feel like that's so much more menacing as well.
See, that's why I really liked, for example, the recent Fractured Timeline episode that came out, Dimension of the Daleks, that Dan made. When the Daleks scanned them, they had white eyes, but their light would project a brighter white light at the person. So they'd actually scan with their eyes. And I was like, yes. Because every time it just goes scanning and they just stare at you. Imagine if an actual scanner came out, but if a scanner actually comes out of the eye and scans you up and down, like that would be perfect.
I think they did that. I feel like they did. Didn't they do that like once ever? Wasn't it in like Twice Upon a Time with Rusty?
Rusty had a projector in his eye.
That would have been it, yeah.
Yeah, when he projected the information, it was coming out of his eye. The eye was still blue, but the light was white. I don't know how quite that worked, but it should have been blue still. But nonetheless,
don't question it.
No, but that's the thing. I still feel like they could do something like this. There's so much they could do with the Daleks, I feel.
Yes, there is so much they could do with the Daleks.
And I hope they do when it comes to whatever they do with them.
Yeah, I still say give them a bit of rest for now, even if it is pull what Moffat did back in Series 6 and literally have them appear for like a cameo, and then that's you've used them.
A big well here. They've kept the second special of the 3 really under wraps. Like, we know from the clips that they released in the recent teaser, they've only used footage of those specials where we've seen them filming outside.
Yeah.
But special 2, we've seen briefly in the teaser that came out after Power of the Doctor, very briefly, but nothing else. I reckon that's all set on set. And that you don't see anything outside. And imagine if it was Daleks, but a new Dalek design.
I feel, you see, I'd like it. I'd love it if that was the case, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like that's what they're going for.
No, I don't think so. I think they're going for key stories that reflect the era, but because my view is that Neil Patrick Harris plays the Toymaker, and the Toymaker is bringing the Doctor's highlights back, because they're like, no, this was the best of you, and basically the Toymaker is going to be representing the toxic side of the fandom that won't let the show move on, and that that's why he's back that's why David Tennant's back as the 14th Doctor, and that's why Donna's back, is that the Toymaker's woven this web and gone, come on, everyone loves this. Everyone loved you two together. I know I've watched it back and you were my favourites personally. I would always wish that you'd see each other again. Shame what happened. But no, look, here we are now. See, we've made it happen. And just because Russell's really good at social commentary.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's very self-aware of the things going on social media, especially within the Doctor Who community. Because, like, did you see the thing that happened recently when he put up that post about the Writers Guild strike?
Yes, he flew over to America to join the picket line with them.
Yeah, and it's like someone made a comment on his Instagram.
I think I saw this, and he told them to.
Yeah,
and
he literally just said to them, "Oh, fuck off."
I love his honesty, because like you wouldn't get that. You wouldn't. I mean, Chibnall wasn't online anyway, and Moffat. I do feel bad for Moffat. He was bullied off of social media just because of what he did with like the silence.
Oh yeah, I mean that is a proper shame about that, because Moffat was always.
It wasn't even just Moffat. Moffat went offline because these toxic fans found his son online. Do you remember that his son did like a little interview on YouTube, like a little YouTube video when he was much younger, interviewing Stephen Moffat about Doctor Who?
No, I wasn't aware of this.
I watched that, and it's kind of like, it's nice because he's asking all these questions about Doctor Who, and his dad's answering honestly, whilst also still being a playful father about it, and it's really sweet. And you look at it and go, that's nice. It's like exclusive interview, and people like news outlets used what he said in that for articles. It was kind of funny. It's like one of those things where you're not sure whether or not it's funny or pathetic, but nonetheless, it was still really sweet, the video. But as a result, they found out what his son's YouTube channel was and bullied him, going, "Your father's ruined the show. Your father's done this. Your father's done that. Death threats follow." You know what I mean? It's like, come on, guys, it's just a show. But that's the thing. No, I think with Russell, he's going to play some of the fans for idiots, and those fans currently think that the other fans are idiots. Like the ones who were like, finally, we're going back to the roots of the show. He's literally going to show in this episode that I feel that you can't hang on to the past and you have to move forward, or else you'll fizzle out, and that'll be representative of the show. And going, we have to move forward with the show with this with new things, and that's how you keep things fresh. Otherwise, you'll just disappear.
Yeah, that was one of the big things as well about Chibnall's era as well. It was trying to keep things fresh.
Series 11 is still my favorite. I loved the fact that it was actually new and no returning villains. Again, it wouldn't have, obviously Resolution, when the Dalek appeared, it was a nice, refreshing thing to see. A lot of people thought that was going to be the final design. It was like, really? You really thought?
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That was silly. It was obvious that it wasn't. It was just going to be.
But it was the way that, as well as fans really struggled to let go of when they hear that information. Because I was telling everyone, this is obviously not the design. Look at how disproportionate it is. The base is so much wider and flatter, and then the midsection is so much thinner. It's obviously not the real thing. Yeah, but I don't like it. So, okay, well, it's not going to be the real thing anyway. It's probably just going to be something that's put together. Yeah, it still doesn't look nice. And I'm like, it's not the actual. It's not the Dalek look.
It's not meant to look like the Dalek. It's meant to be a reconstruction.
Yeah, it's a poorly made reconstruction. Really, it's not Dalekanium. It's obviously just metals molded together very quickly. It looks like someone's had to put together a makeshift casing. Yeah, but it doesn't really look good for a Dalek. I'm like, come on, guys. Do we have to be so picky?
Either way, even if it wasn't like the nicest looking design and people didn't like it, I still think it's one of my favorite Dalek stories.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, I can't even tell you this. The amount of friends of mine who complained, going, "Oh yeah, let's kill a Dalek with a toaster." I'm like, it's not made of Dalekanium. Like, seriously, guys, can we stop trying to look for things to hate?
I just love the moment. I just love that moment because it felt like, because even though I love Moffat, I hated his Dalek stories.
I loved it when watching Resolution, as the camera panned along that army and everybody got killed. I know that sounds really morbid, but it was like they're back. I was like,
good scene.
Yeah, I was like, finally, there are stakes here. They've just thrown the army at this Dalek, at this thing that they're just calling a drone. Oh, a drone's shooting people. Yeah, let's quickly get the army in to take it down. And then it murders the army and blows up 2 tanks. No,
I know,
3 tanks.
It just obliterated a tank.
And then flew off and shut down the internet. Cut off communications. Completely, it's like it literally crippled like core systems.
It dropped the whole of the 21st century in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And as well as that, again, I know I'm like, the amount of people who held on to the fact, going, "Oh yeah, what, radiation from a microwave?" It's like, it's made of metal and iron. It's not like, what did you? This isn't a Dalek. Why does everyone keep concentrating on the fact that this is a Dalek? It's the creature making a casing from Earth material.
Yeah.
Why are you surprised? But yeah, why are you surprised that the radiation battery cells from a microwave would melt iron? Like, it's like I had to tell that to my friend of mine. I went, "Do you think battery cells, when because obviously all batteries have a bit of radiation in them anyway, that's how they work. That if you got battery cells to expose that bit of radiation and like heat, do you think it would melt iron?" "Oh yeah, of course it would." So why do you have a hard time believing that for this episode? Because that's made of iron, remember? And they go, "Oh yeah," and it's actually, I don't even think it's online anymore. There's a podcast. There's only one podcast that we made that got deleted, and it was a special podcast. Yeah, it was called 10A or 10B or something like that. It was episode 10 something. And it was a special episode because we did our normal New Year podcast. And then we did a special one for Resolution. And it was myself, Daniel Patton, and John N. Harper. And I literally introduced it and did not say a word because those two ranted and hated the episode so much, going, "Oh well, how did they know he'd pull over and get a kebab at that exact position in order to take him out?" And I'm like,
"Oh, I remember that." Yeah,
I'm like, Jesus Christ, guys. I was like, I was just sat there going, "You do realize that we got into this show as kids as well?" I'm not trying to say, I don't think it's fair to turn around and say Doctor Who is a children's show because it can apply to everyone of all ages. It's realistically, it's a family show, but has to be a little bit more leaning to children in order to get them on board.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you can still watch it as a parent. The amount of times that my dad would sit down with us and watch Doctor Who in the RTD era, and he'd cackle at lines I didn't understand. Like I didn't like. They'd make jokes, and I wouldn't understand those jokes, but my dad would laugh, and it was like it works. It worked for everyone. I feel like with certain eras, it kind of went off. Like I think with Moffat, it became a very different kind of thing. It's really why I'm hoping that this new RTD era will kind of embrace the family element again. Really.
Well, it certainly does seem it, especially with because that's the thing. RTD obviously loves creating worlds.
Oh yeah, and we've seen obviously a lot of that because we've seen from the filming of series 14 that Kate Stewart is back.
Yeah.
A lot of people thinking that Ruby Sunday is actually her daughter, which could make some sense.
I could see that, but then there was a thing where Ruby was filming, where Millie Gibson was filming early on. And I think it was for the Christmas special, potentially. Where they were driving, where literally it was a car or a taxi driving off, and she was like screaming at it.
Who was screaming at it?
Millie. Millie was like, and she was like basically like breaking down into tears.
Oh.
So if it is going down that whole Kate Stewart line, like,
my brain's on fire with ideas all of a sudden.
Oh, go on.
She just wants to reconnect with her mum, and her mum's busy rebuilding unit and hasn't got time. She just wants her mother in her life. They sit down, go to that cafe, have a nice kind of coffee for a bit. How have you been? Oh, working. You. And Kate doesn't really know what Ruby's up to anymore because she's so busy. And obviously she's been on the run in the past as well. It's like she's not really been able to see much of her daughter growing up. And as a result, Ruby goes off traveling with the Doctor in order to have something in common with her mother. So it's actually not, it's done because she wants to see what's out there, but in a kind of very not healthy way, done to kind of spite her mother, who's also Kate Stewart, who also the Doctor knows, and it would create a lot of good drama there as well for going, you took my daughter, what? I think that would be really cool to explore, and that's the thing. It's a family thing as well, and Russell does those really well.
If that's the way they go, that would work so nicely family wise, because it creates because we already have a connection with Kate, and obviously Kate is obviously quite well.
We know Kate so well at this stage. The only thing we don't know is her family life. That's the only thing we don't know, and this is a really good avenue to explore. And obviously, we know that Russell and Moffat talk anyway. They basically have like conversations on Instagram comments at this stage anyway, or Twitter.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw those jokes they were making to each other.
Yeah, exactly. So they talk anyway. There's rumors of Moffat having written an episode. What I like is that at the moment, what it's looking like with Doctor Who again, because people are being so much more like the people who make the show, whilst they're being secretive about the content, they're messaging kind of like how we message our friends when we make fan content. Like the way that we still, like when we post stuff on Instagram and friends go, cool, and we're like, yeah, and we message in the comments too. Russell and Moffat are being so good at communicating on social media that you feel a part of the show again. You feel like the show is almost like you're with them in that journey, like Russell posts a photo of him with like a silhouette of a box behind him. They go, the TARDIS, and it's like he's teasing a little bit whilst still saying hello.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The show. How long has it been since the show was talked about this much? It's been so long.
Oh, yeah.
It's really lovely and refreshing, and it's given me a lot of faith that the show can continue because it's not like a limited deal at the moment. Currently, as far as I'm aware, Bad Wolf Studios have got Doctor Who for the undefined future currently.
Yeah, for the foreseeable future, they have Doctor Who.
And that's the thing, a lot of people making rumors going, Russell might only stay for 1 year, or Russell might only stay for a couple. And it's like, well, he's already said he's working on Series 15. But also simultaneously, if he did step down as a writer or showrunner, it doesn't have to leave Bad Wolf Studios, because he doesn't necessarily work on his Dark Materials. Like, I don't think he'll let it go again, but I think he'll always be watching it. He may not write for it, but he will always be watching it, because he's got plans, and I don't think he'll walk away from them. I reckon there'll be a season or two where he goes, I'm going to take a step back from writing this year. I need to have a break. Because, well, I know he wants to do spin-offs and everything. He might have to do like what Moffat did, when Moffat was trying to write Sherlock and Doctor Who at the same time. He might have to go, I have to step back this year, because I've got to make sure the spin-off does well. And
yeah, but it's like Russell even said, like, oh, I want to be doing Doctor Who for quite a bit.
Yeah, and I hope that means more than 5 years. I think at this stage, in the same way that, for example, I suppose a good explanation would be like how I do stuff for Overton Audios. The way my system goes is that people actually write things, I read them, I script edit or whatever. And in some cases, like I said recently, that Abi has edited some of Meddlesome. If I don't have the time to be able to get an edit done, I will ask her if she can do it, and then I can go to work knowing that it's still being worked upon. Yeah. Russell can do that as well if he's not able to write. People can write the scripts, he reads and script edits, maybe. And then Scott Hancock has a look over it, because I know that they've been doing that. He basically is quality management. And I think that's what Doctor Who needs, is a quality management to make sure that we don't lose our way again.
Yeah, and with Scott Hancock, that's the perfect person for it.
Well, yeah, when you look at the Big Finish he does.
Yeah, because he's been doing War Master since it started.
Yeah, and I believe after this, because they've just released Volume 9 and there's 2 more left. So after this 11th volume, Robert Valentine?
It's going to Rob Valentine, yeah.
He did really, really well with The War Doctor Begins, Volume 4. He was given that entire volume to do. I reckon that was the test volume to whether or not he could get War Master.
Yeah.
Because it was a Time War story.
If he could get the Time War.
Yeah, and he had an entire one big story, and Robert Valentine's really good at doing whole volume stories. So I wouldn't be surprised if the War Master, rather than becoming separate stories with an overarching arc, they become solid one stories.
And that's also quite a refreshing take on it all as well.
Yeah, because I know that they've done a few with the War Master already. Because they had, which ones was it? They had, I know that Volume 5, Hearts of Darkness, that was definitely a one story.
Darkness and Anti-Genesis were one stories.
Yes. All the others have had a theme to them, but their own story within it that adds to the finale. Yeah. Whereas the others, like you say, Anti-Genesis was just another part of, oh no, something else has gone wrong. How do they fix this next episode? And all this sort of stuff. I hope we get more of those with Robert Valentine. Look, see, you know what? Have you seen how much the segment about the monk has changed? We've talked about everything.
I know. It's like we're meant to be talking about the monk, and we've all of a sudden started going into the War Master.
Yeah, we have jumped around quite a lot. We love to ramble here at Overton Audios podcast, but yes, let's bring this back to the monk now. With Meddlesome, I'm despite how much time it took to get there, I'm very happy with how it's all turned out. Are you happy?
Considering I've not heard any of it, I can just say safely from who I'm aware of is in the cast, and obviously as the person who has written the episodes, I'm happy with my performance within it, and B, I'm happy with how it's all led throughout.
I'll just crop this answer to just you saying I am happy.
I am happy.
Yeah, but it's disjointed. So it's like the I and the am and the happy are from like 3 sentences apart. So it's usually going, I am happy. Oh, that's good to hear, Josh. Yes. So you're like, yes, I am happy. It's like, good.
Yes, very happy.
Yeah, yeah. What I'll probably do is after we recorded this, I'll just play you the trailer and go, see, all that stuff.
You know what's going on.
Yeah, but yeah. Overall, I'm really hoping that people enjoy it. It's something we've never done anything with the monk on this level with Overton Audios before, and if we get around to doing a second volume, we'll definitely try and speed up the process this time round.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And yes, indeed. So is there anything else you wanted to talk about with regard to the monk?
Well, talk about without spoiling anything. Well, I mean, just the whole series itself has sort of been my because if anyone who listens to this knows me, and I've spoken to them, they are all very much aware of my love for the monk. Like he's been a character I've loved for so long, and I've always felt like there was a way to pull the character apart. Like there's more elements to him than we get to see with him being just the villain of the story. And that's very much what this volume was very much me testing the waters to see what would work, which I think I found when we got to the last episode. That very much was me going, right, this is definitely where the series is going. And then also it's sort of my love letter to the meddling monk as a character, because I really wanted to focus on the monk as a person, because I like making characters feel believable and having proper deep motives, and I very much stripped him back and very much showed he's not just a dick.
Yeah, and that's also a thing as well, which is something I've learned about villains, is sometimes, and there's been a bit of this recently, where villains have been seen a lot more sympathetically, but there are some that are just evil. Like the Master is just twisted. The Rani is a scientist who just has no morals. She just she wants to explore and discover, but she's got no regard for any life, and that's the problem. The monk is, at least, again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm aware that I'm about to describe your favorite character and my interpretation of the monk. The monk has got a selfish streak.
Yes,
where
absolutely.
He's doing this for his own gains. Again, very little care. He doesn't strike me as the kind of person who would freely kill someone, but he wouldn't care for the consequences of his actions to get what he wanted either way. But he wouldn't exactly, if he got given a gun and went kill that person, he'd be like, wait, what? What do you mean kill him? It doesn't serve a purpose for the monk. He's like, this isn't meddling, this is just murder. What does this do? Because if you think about it, with the Seventh Doctor big finish they did with Rufus Hand and Winston Churchill, he didn't. Subterfuge. That's it. He didn't kill anyone. He just made them walk the other way. He could have easily have gone around and just shot Winston Churchill and we go, meddling done. But he's cleverer than sometimes it's let on by other iterations of him. Certainly in most iterations, it looks like it sometimes comes across like he's just a fool making mess. But no, he has an understanding of going, if I kill him, that ruins everything. In this instance, he can't just kill Winston Churchill. He just has him, rather than going left, he goes right. He's still part, because that would be too much damage otherwise. So
and
he's not really a murderer. He's not a bad person inherently. He's just, if you look at it really, he's a bit immature, likes clowning around.
Yeah, I mean, when this is the thing, it's that's a lot of how I see the monk, and it's another way I see the monk is, in my eyes, he's a better foe for the Doctor than the Master is, because they are very much that they're on a similar level. Because it's it gets mentioned a lot as well, the Doctor meddles with time. Why is the monk seen as the villain then? But it's
I mean, it's true.
It's because the monk morally is not on the same moral level of what is classed as good within the universe as the Doctor. And then it's like, I also see the monk as basically a perfect interpretation of what we, like the human race, would be like if we were given time travel.
Yeah, we just. Oh yeah, we'll go and watch the Mona Lisa being painted. Oh, actually, it's just been painted. I'll have that. It looks very nice and new. There'll be someone
exactly.
who does that. There will be 100 meddling monks if everyone had time travel.
Yes, exactly, and that's such a big part of him. And this is one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite interpretations. When I got the chance to meet Rufus Hound back in Derby last year, that was one of the best experiences of my life, and I had the greatest photo ever with him.
Yes, I'm thinking about it now. Actually, yeah.
he gave the perfect understanding of the monk, because when he first got told about playing the meddling monk, he said he did a little bit of research on who the monk was. He didn't watch the Time Meddler or listen to any other Big Finish beforehand to get him set up for the monk. He just took his own ideas of who the monk is into the recording booth, and basically he said to the people at Big Finish, so he's just a guy who fucks around with time, isn't he?
I mean,
and
yeah,
that it's just, and that has been what's got him through those years of playing the monk, and it's been so effective. And it's like he said in the Outlaws interview, the monk doesn't do what he does with malicious intent.
No,
he does it because it's fun.
Yeah, I mean that leads back into what I was saying about that. If you gave him a gun and said shoot this person, he'd be like, no. Like, he'd be like I don't think he could ever intentionally, again depending on the situation, he could. I can't see him intentionally going around hurting people.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, he's like, again, throughout Meddlesome, he's not exactly. There'll be times where he just doesn't want to be around Edith. He's like, I'm my own person, and I'm done. But that also does lead back into his own personal experiences traveling with other people anyway. And because this isn't the first person he's traveled with. There have been things in expanded media where the monk has had a companion before.
Yes, in adventures.
Yes, exactly. And it's there is a sympathetic side to him. You just have to find it somehow. He just wants to, like, he's just hyper. He's hyper with having all this ability. It's essentially
it's like giving a child all the toys in the sandpit.
Yeah, actually, it's like giving them all the toys in the sandpit and then saying, "But you can't use those toys though, the ones that aren't in the sandpit." And then he takes the toys from the ones that aren't in the sandpit and puts them in the sandpit anyway.
Yeah, he doesn't care for rules. He's not a stickler for rules, and he's very much like, as well as like the monk. Whenever he meets the Doctor, he will very much call the Doctor out on his rubbish when he's like saying, "Oh, it's like you call me the villain because I meddle with time. Yeah, look at you." And it's like in the third Doctor,
got a big point, hasn't he?
Yeah, because it's like when he met the third Doctor as well, he was technically helping humans. He was helping the human race technically, and the Doctor was stopping him. And the monk literally went, "But I'm actually doing good in this situation, so you're the villain here."
Yeah, oh, that's true. It was that third Doctor Volume 4, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Rise of the New Humans.
Yeah, it was still, yes, it was it was the original, when it had the original banner on the left side, and it was 3 and like a shadow.
Yeah, it was when it was the sidebar.
I mean, that's exactly true. I love stories of moral dilemmas, and that's what's really special, I find, about the different Time Lord adversaries that the Doctor has. I'm not going to say villains, because not all of them are villains. Like, the Rani is someone who is just like the Doctor wanting to discover, but it'd be like basically she's the Doctor, or if they had no moral compass. In a way, in a way, the people the Doctor faces who are Time Lords are versions of the Doctor if they lost control of certain aspects of themselves.
Yeah.
It's
like you've got the Master who is like, if the Doctor became an absolute
Well, yeah,
opposite of
if the doctor lost their mind.
Yeah, and then you've got the Rani, where it's the doctor without the moral compass, and then the monk's just
it's the doctor without compassion in a way.
Yeah,
and then you've got the monk who's just like, what if the doctor just did not care about the timeline?
Yeah, it's literally if he didn't care, what would he do? He'd just go around, screw about as he likes, and he'd take pride in being celebrated for.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's what I find so fun about bringing in characters who are Time Lord adversaries.
Yeah. In a way, the Doctor ends up having to look at themselves just as much. Because we've seen the Master, we've seen the Doctor lose themselves as well in the past as well. Like we've seen like the hybrid. I mean, in that case, the Doctor just point blank was murdering.
Yeah, he just murdered Ken Bones.
Yeah. And then well, you had also, I mean, yeah, there was everything. And it shows the capability of the Doctor, which is, I mean, the Doctor obviously comes back to their senses and just, wipes their memory to, keep themselves at bay and keep themselves calm. Remove the ability to be able to be that person, basically. The Doctor is the kind of character we should aspire to be, and the Time Lords adversaries that they meet along the way are the worst versions of what anybody could become, really.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice poetic note to end on.
I do too. It's something for the audience to think about.
Yes, have a long think, audience. Pause this podcast. I've put time stamps on here. Walk away from the computer, go and make a coffee or a tea when it's not a heat wave. And
don't put it in the bloody microwave.
Oh no, that's true. That's true. Don't do that. Don't do that. We have kettles. Okay, make use of the kettle. Mr. Kettle didn't invent that for nothing.
We don't need to put a cup of tea in a microwave.
I've seen that happen before in America. Have you seen those TikToks where there was a guy who had an American girlfriend, an English guy, and she went, "Oh, I'll make you a cup of tea," and then she microwaved it and brought it to him, and he just was like, "What the hell is this?" And she went, "It's a tea." And he went, "No, it isn't."
Didn't she like put like the milk in first or something?
Oh.
It was like just this mug full of milk. Squeezes.
And the thing is, when you microwave, I mean, have you ever microwaved milk before?
No, and I don't want to.
Well, basically, without going too much into detail about it, when you churn milk for long enough, it becomes cheese.
Yeah.
When you heat up milk for long enough, it gets clumpy.
Oh yeah, because it's like the whole like
it bubbles and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he just think when he had that bit of tea, he would have had milk clumps. No wonder it was just like, like, what's this? And it would have separated from the overall mixture as well. So he just looks in and just sees the lumps. It's awful. It's awful. Let that be a warning, audience. Do not microwave your tea or you'll get milk lumps.
I thought we were going to end this on a moral dilemma, not.
I mean, it's still a moral. It's still a moral dilemma because there's going to be some people listening who microwave their tea, and now they know what will happen, and now they're thinking, "But I've been microwaving my tea for years and never noticed." And now you know. Every time you microwave your tea from now on, you'll know that you'll be drinking milk lumps. What a moral dilemma! Change your ways, and also think about
change your ways now.
And if anything, like we said about being reflections of yourself, look at yourself in the mirror, and if you feel upset looking at yourself in the mirror, there's a problem. You need to sort your life out. Anyway, going back to myself and Eamon in the future in the podcast. Thank you very much, Josh, and farewell, everyone.
Thank you.
Hello, Doctor.
I didn't want to hear that voice.
There is a threat, Doctor.
Welcome back to the podcast, and it is myself and Eamon. We have returned after that segment about Meddlesome. Yes, exactly.
That was a segment.
Yes, it was. Now, we're going to do some comments reading, and we've got a little bit more to read. I know that we have some that we weren't able to do, which, of course, Eamon, you are basically our tracker for that. You keep track of what we can't read for, but We are recording this now so close to when the podcast comes out that everything that could have possibly come out has come out, although comments are not yet prevalent on them. Like Divergence Episode 7 or Meddlesome Volume 1 trailer. They only came out yesterday, but there are no comments yet. So, shall we say that we'll read those next month if any comments arise?
Sure thing.
Indeed.
Say that.
Yes.
While I'm there in person.
Yes. And then we can wait until the following month for the next podcast and make more notes of what needs to be done and stuff.
Yay!
Yes, indeed. So what we will be reading in for the comments, Eamon, you're going to be reading the comments for Supers Volume 2, episodes or chapters 3 and 4. And then I will be reading the comments for Divergence Episode 6 and for On the Scene 3. Now, I want to quickly preface this because there seems to have been a bit of confusion about Doctor Who Divergence recently. So I wanted to quickly preface this and just say that regarding the recent episode of Doctor Who Divergence, the 7th episode, that has starred Dominic G. Martin as a variant Doctor. A lot of people are thinking it's an alternate Purple Doctor from DW 2012. It isn't. It is not intended to be that at all. It was written a little while ago. To be honest, I'll be completely open about it. It was originally written to be something that was an alternate DW 2012 thing. That was when we were still working with DW 2012. We spoke with everyone relevant in DW 2012 about it, but it was decided not to go ahead. When we departed from DW 2012, we had a look at the script again and changed it. So I can understand why people see some similarities and stuff. But no, it's just an alternate story with regards to, which meant to be more based off of the movie Upgrade. That's kind of what we were talking about, wasn't it, Eamon? It's going to be more like Upgrade.
Also about Moon Knight.
Yeah, there you go. And it has voices in your head and everything like that between the Doctor and the Master. And Dom had never got the chance to play the Master before, so we thought it would be a really good thing to try out. So that's how we adapted the story and everything. But it is not meant to be.
I think I read
related.
it so long ago.
No, you wrote
maybe
it.
2 or 3 episodes of Moon Knight had come out.
You
and that started on March 30th of last year. When Moon Knight started.
This episode was the first episode Divergence written.
Yeah.
It was the first one written. And that's how long ago it was. It was the beginning of last year. So it's been a while in the making. But I just want to make that completely clear because there has been a little bit of confusion, which is understandable because Dom is mostly known for playing the Purple Doctor with DW 2012. Obviously, he also does the Architect stuff on his channel with Remnants. And I know he's planning a whole series with the Architect anyway. But I just want to make that completely clear that it is not in any way related. We'll probably be posting about it later anyway. You'll probably have seen posts before. But nonetheless, let's get on with the comments. And I will start with Divergence Episode 6, Ballroom Blitz, written by James Sutton.
Timothy Suttle.
Indeed. So we start with a comment from James York, who says, "It's me. Thank you very much for having me." And this was James York starting off their role as Johnny. They're called a different name in this because since then, obviously, we've changed a little bit with regards to like production and everything like that. But that is a character that you will see a little bit more of in main continuity. It's called Johnny. What's his surname now? It's not Johnny. Not Johnny Bell anymore, like it is here.
No,
it's a
it's
different one.
Johnny Martin.
Johnny Martin. We'll see him a little bit more in some more Torchwood audio volumes that are being planned by James Sutton and Eamon Longman here. We have another comment from Michael Cox, who says, "Oh, James, you really made poor Tommy Benton suffer in this episode. It is an excellent story, and Ben's performance really brought out both the sadness of Tommy's existence and the humor he uses to protect his emotions. He is a true anti-hero, the tragic clown, the rejected genius. It was good to introduce us to some new characters who are able to shed light on what has shaped Tommy that we think we already know." And then we have another comment from CSP, who says, "After a 4-day delay due to COVID, I finally listened to this episode, and wow, it was just wow, honestly. From the title, I was expecting a Life on Mars type of Divergence episode, but instead got a really charming personal story about 2 people who didn't deserve this diverted path. Very nice stuff. 9 out of 10. Thank you very much, CSP. Otherwise, we know him as Thomas. Thank you very much.
Or CISP.
Oh, yes, I was waiting for you to say that. We now move on to On the Scene 3. We've got one comment on this from Michael Cox, who says, "Oh my goodness, this was harrowing. I think this is one of the darkest things ever produced by Overton Audios. Congratulations to everyone involved. This was really hard-hitting drama in every line. The final scene does leave me wondering if there might be an on-the-scene 4 or some sort of spin-off, though. See, that isn't intentional, but it gave me some ideas. I thought of some ideas, but it's not something that's necessarily on the cards at the moment. We could always do other things set in more of a grounded world that relate and are kind of connected by the same place, but not necessarily be about the police. But we'll just see. We'll see. Now, Aidan, have you got some comments from Supers Volume 2 that you wish to share with us?
Who?
I said your name, didn't I?
Who?
I said
You
Eamon.
said Aiden.
No, I
You
didn't. I
said
said
Aiden.
Eamon. I said Eamon. I swear.
You said Aiden.
No.
We can listen back to this.
We will.
Everyone confirm with me. He went, Aiden, do you have any comments? And I went, huh?
No,
Aiden
no, I
was on this
definitely said
podcast?
Eamon. I definitely said Eamon.
I heard a D. There was a hard D in there.
Oh, dear.
I would normally agree with you, but there was a hard D in there.
I am sorry if I did that. Why do you have to have similar names?
And normally there is no hard D in me. Anyway, Supers Volume 2,
Amen.
Episode 3.
Amen. Crying out loud.
God.
Come on.
Why did you let... Oh, Chadders. Anyway, written by you. It's written by you. It's written by Connor Chadders.
Oh.
Our first comment is from Michael Cox, who says, I like the juxtaposition of the overseas war and the seemingly quiet suburban cafe in Shenfield, because in a world with a growing number of supers, there are no safe places. The growing friendship and informal chats between Jen and Felicity contrast nicely with the somewhat harsh, task-centered speech of the CEO with his soldiers. And yes, I agree. And then Sisp pretty much references that comment, so it kind of worked out for me to read that in that order. Because Sisp says, same with Michael before me, I love the juxtaposition of the war and the cafe. One seems like a freeing place that turns out to be a place full of terror and trouble, and another where rules and regulations make it more harsher than it should be. Good stuff.
Yeah,
both good comments. Yay. I like seeing my name top of the starring list as well. That's good. I might have to listen to that one at some point.
Indeed.
Anyway, Supers Volume 2, Episode 4, Plague, by Connor Chadders. I got one comment, and it's from Michael Cox, who says, if you'll forgive the pun, super performances from the cast. A great story with lots of action alongside the slow build towards the revelations, which will explain the company's ultimate objective. He's very observant. I like him. I like that.
And we'll leave any comments from Divergence Episode 7 and the Meddlesome Volume 1 trailer until next month's podcast, where we'll be sat together and all will be well.
Oh,
indeed. Now, as we've read some comments discussing episodes that we've released, shall we go to the Big Finish discussions?
Yes, we should.
Thank you for visiting the final gallery. As the universe dies, so does art. For every planet, every civilization, there is one last piece of art. Some civilizations leave behind paintings of bittersweet beauty, others songs of haunted despair. Not all worlds die screaming. Some walk into sleep. These artworks confront us with a choice we will all have to make. How will you face your death? Yes, I wonder, what are you looking for?
Well, actually, I came here to find myself.
Welcome back to the podcast, and I'm here with Abi Louise for the Big Finish discussions. Greetings.
Hi and howdy.
Indeed.
Howdy and
Today,
hi.
yeah, today for the Big Finish podcast discussions, not the podcast. We're not doing a podcast for Big Finish.
Blimey,
We are
been
doing
promoted.
Yeah, we're replacing Nick and Benji today. No,
Yeah.
but for the discussions, we're going to talk about Once and Future, the artist at the end of time.
Cravat crabs.
Cravat crabs, my favorite.
Cravat
Indeed.
crabs.
Indeed. So, should we start with yourself?
Yeah.
What did you think of the episode?
I enjoyed it, but that's only because I you can tell these three spend time together outside of Big Finish. You get that camaraderie between the booths, if that makes any sense. You can tell they all get on, and I quite like feeling that through the audio. So that was fun.
Well, isn't it as well? Isn't it as well that one of her friends is the daughter of Colin?
Yeah,
that they went to school together.
So they've all kind of known each other for years, and that kind of comes through with
since
when they
the
all work
80s.
together.
Since the 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But no, I like that because I'm one of these people that can feel the vibe, like from the audios. You can tell they're having a laugh doing this. So
you can
from
feel
that
the warmth, especially between Five and Jenny, especially because they are, father and daughter in real life.
Yeah. But yeah, I like that aspect. The story was simple but warm, I feel. But as a running arc from the other stuff,
I think we have we have similar opinions on this, because I love the way that I like to think. I know it probably doesn't work out this way as much as I like to think it does, but I like to think that when doctors meet up a bit like old uncles and grandfathers, if there were to ever to be like family meetings and gatherings. So especially when Colin as the curator and Jenny were having that conversation on the beach, you felt a nice warmth between them, like a kind of family thing, like they've met, or obviously like we said just now, that they know Colin's daughter knows Georgia from school, so they probably Colin and Peter probably gone, oh, hello, at the school or whatever, and all that sort of stuff. But what I mean? But it has that kind of nice warmth family thing, and it's especially with how doctors are to one another about handing on the role and passing things down. It's such a kind of, it's turned into like a very weird ceremony and very much a huge amount of respect. So if there was a nice warmth felt there, and you like to think that, imagine I suppose it would be like if it'd be the equivalent of like Christopher Eccleston with Ty Tennant or something like that. That sort of thing. Yeah. Or maybe even Paul. I think Paul would do more audio like that.
Yeah.
But you can imagine Paul and his warmth. But yeah, the thing I struggle with the most is I really am I wasn't actually a massive fan of the first Once and Future, because it's these doctors who are appearing, they aren't actually the fourth Doctor. They aren't actually the fifth Doctor. It's the eighth or war doctors in those previous bodies and personalities with the experiences of the time war.
Yeah.
I wish that they still kept the personalities a bit, but I can see why they haven't, because you need to reflect more. And I get it's a new way of doing multi-doctor stories without having multiple doctors in the room and everything like that. But especially in I know I'm going back to the first Once and Future when we should be talking about the second one. In the first one, have you listened to the first Once and Future?
Yeah.
I don't know which Doctor it's trying to be, because it sounds like it's got a bit of 4 in there, but with a bit of a darker tone to it when he talks about what current events are showing, which to me is an impression of like a war-torn 8 or war Doctor speaking.
Yeah.
Because he can't quite connect to his companions, but even though he has the personality of 4. I thought that was interesting, but it's really left obscure and it's not being explained. With 5, he was completely like 5 and had no real reference.
Yeah, it was just 5.
It was just 5.
It was just 5.
but there's no connections either. 5 just shows up. I can't even call him 5. I don't know what he is. Like, is he 5.8 or War 5? I don't know. But like he he shows up and goes, "Yeah, I found a reading that says I should come here." I'm like, "Where's the where are you getting this information? Let's see what that's interesting. How are you finding out where to go? How do you know you have to go to the end of time to an art gallery?
Yeah.
Like, where are you getting this information from? We want to see that because you
I feel
just
like
show
you
up."
missed half a story. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that especially recently, the fourth one called Two's Company, which stars Colin, which I love Colin, meeting Lady D'Souza, meeting Harry Sullivan, and then Jackie Tyler. This is where I'll tell you honestly. Do you know genuinely?
Oh Christ!
Depending on how the third one goes, which is 7 in the Time War with Davros, which isn't actually a new concept. 7 and Davros isn't anything new. Although, have you seen the special edition cover for that episode?
Yeah.
Looks a bit like Incubation from Divergence, doesn't it? George pointed that out on Twitter.
That's true, actually. That is true.
He posted the one of him with Terry Malloy's Davros, and then they've done the similar. And I'm like, how could you?
Stealing my ideas.
Yeah, but it's literally, and this is funny as well because they're coming out within like about 2 months of one another. So you know, hilarious. But anyway, if the third one doesn't do anything new, I'll listen to it to keep up to date with things. But my interest is waning at the moment because it's not.
I will say this. I'll probably get the 6th Doctor one, but I won't get the 7th.
I'll let you know how it is.
Yeah, you tell me how it is, and I'll tell you how the 6th one is.
Yeah, because I don't know. They've really flopped. I don't like to be so harsh of Big Finish. I really like the stuff they've been doing with the War Doctor Begins, where they've really been exploring things, and they actually, even though they've got a future, you don't know how the hell they're going to fix this issue. And that's the kind of where attention was. Right now, the degeneration thing, I can predict where it's going to go. Because the finale of it doesn't happen until November next year.
Yeah.
Because it ends, I assume the main story will be over by October, because they're releasing 2 in 1 month. And then the epilogue will be in November 2024. I don't know why they've left it that long, but frankly, it's such a shame because you look at what it is and it's the degeneration and it's flicking between lives. It should have had a clear identity. It shouldn't have to change theme tunes every episode. It shouldn't have to change its vibe and editing all the time to suit its era. It should be one consistent story whilst having moments reflecting across that Doctor's life.
Yeah.
Like reflecting on who they were. They should have moments from that Doctor's life that they are faced with, like them turning into 5 and being faced with Tegan or something when Tegan's left. Something similar to what they did with the Harvest, I want to say, something like that, or the Gathering, or something like that.
Gathering, yeah.
But imagine if they'd done that and went, it's been a long time, and they go, yeah, same, and it's someone else, and it's not quite 5, but they're having to find themselves, and it's about identity. It's about it could be about the War Doctor, who doesn't consider himself the Doctor anymore, which is why I'm really hoping this is just a war-torn 8. Because if it is turning out that it was the War Doctor hit by this laser, the whole point of him is that he doesn't see himself as a Doctor, so he shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Like, if it's 8 who feels like he's losing himself, makes sense. Of course, he's going to feel like he's losing himself in a time war where he's got no friends. Makes complete sense. I'm very aware that I'm realizing that you've not said a full sentence in a few minutes now because I'm rambling and I'm just like, ugh. But
it's fine.
The way I would have done it is once and future should be, this is who I once was and this is who I can become in the future. That should be where that meaning of the title is. The title once and future currently has no meaning. We're now a quarter of the way into the series and have no leading thing. The degeneration thing is no longer actually the main story already, and we're only 2 episodes in.
Yeah.
It could be something where it's someone going up and down the Doctor's timeline trying to change things, and then getting shot with a degeneration weapon, and then you're going back in time finding anomalies down the Doctor's timeline, both forwards and back. And that's why you're meeting these people in random orders, is because the timeline's being messed with. But no, like Jenny just happened. Jenny makes sense for Jenny to be there in the art gallery. but I would have had it be that something completely different, like an anomaly had happened, like in the final gallery, a piece of art had been taken and put into a different time zone. But then, of course, you then know pretty much the villain's the meddling monk. But that would have also been really interesting to put the monk, who's one of the first Time Lord villains we meet in the show before the Master. Meddling Monk is the first Time Lord we see. To make him the villain would have been a really interesting twist, rather than showing him in the first episode and getting rid of him.
True. I would have liked to have seen 5 in the monk.
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Rufus Hound's monk. He could have appeared in that first episode. It could still be the monk, for all we know. I don't know. It could, because they've done different versions of the monk at Big Finish. They could have a brand new one played by like a really prestigious name for the 60th. They could do something like I really liked when they had Drax in the latest Eighth Doctor, one called Connections, and everyone thought it was going to be played by Shane Ritchie, played Alfie in EastEnders, Alfie Moon. I thought that was a perfect choice for Drax. And spoilers, do you mind spoilers?
No.
Spoilers for everyone. We might as well skip to the next time code to get rid of this section now. Might as well. Basically, he's not even playing Drax. It's somebody else who's playing a really serious Drax, and it doesn't sound like Drax at all. Just sounds like any other Time Lord. And the guy who is played by Shane Ritchie is just a random guy who worked in the market. Which makes sense for Alfie Moon in EastEnders, but unlike Shane, the way that Shane Ritchie played the character of Drax there was genuinely perfect, because he's kind of like, you know how Alfie Moon is in EastEnders, like especially in like the early 2000s when he was in it, going, "Oh, let's go, yeah." He was playing it exactly like that, and it was perfect. And it's just one of those things where imagine if he was like doing something, could have been Drax and causing that chaos or something like that. I'm all for like kind of underdog villains, because we see enough of the big villains. So the monk could have easily been doing something, but nonetheless, I'm going off on so many tangents about why, because in essence, the story isn't bad. It just doesn't have. It's not 60th celebration material.
No, not at all.
That's the thing. It's not. You can have things to do with timeline, messy stuff, and you could have it with. But you should have each Doctor reflect on their era, because there was an article written about Once and Future where they said, we had a shopping list of characters, and everyone's gone, that's the problem. You had a shopping list, and you just picked out random ones and went, let's make a story. Since when did the 6th Doctor need to meet Jackie Tyler?
I generally feel like they sat in a room and span a wheel.
Well, somebody said it was a dartboard.
Or something. Yeah. Literally, spin the wheel. Who's 6 going to be? Okay, Jackie. Yeah, cool. Like, I generally reckon that's what happened.
It would be a funny concept, but for a joke.
Yeah.
The 60th celebrations is we're bringing one of the companions' mothers to meet Colin. See, what would have been interesting is Lady D'Souza. Lady D'Souza, I find interesting because, Colin and Lady D'Souza, I think, could work.
Yeah.
Especially in the heist scenario. I don't know if it would be 60th celebration material, but that's better than Jackie Tyler, who, where is she in her timeline? So I was discussing this with Eamon earlier.
And which Jackie is it as well? Is it
I think it's pre-Rose. It's pre-Rose.
Right.
When she's on the power, it's when she's on the Powell estate. Which is even worse. See, the thing is, when they've had Camille come in to play Jackie, every time she's shown up has made sense. The Rose Tyler volumes, like the Dimension canon set before Stolen Earth, when they're trying to get back to their universe, makes complete sense. And then they had her appear in some short trips where she was narrating them with the 10th Doctor, Meta-Crisis Doctor, which was then back on a new parallel Earth, make complete sense again. Then they had her in the Lives of Captain Jack, which everyone thought was a bit unnecessary. But upon reflection, Captain Jack does say in Utopia, he used to visit the Powell estate in the 90s and watch Rose growing up. And then literally in this episode of Lives of Captain Jack, which is just what he did during his long life, he's in the Powell estate in the 90s, and somebody reads Artron energy in that area, but it's a feedback from what will happen in the 2000s. and Jack gets involved trying to stop it before they ruin Rose's life. And Jackie just bumps into him accidentally, and he goes, "Oh, sorry, hello." And she's like, "Oh, how are you?" And all this stuff, because Jackie was always like, but Jackie was always like that, and that makes sense for her character, and it makes sense that Jack never actually met her in person until Stolen Earth or Journey's End, which was nearly 18 years later. Rose was still a toddler in this story, so it made sense that they, the memories of faces would fade and stuff.
Yeah, especially if it was just a passing.
Yeah, she was in most of the story, if I'm honest, because she was trying to get him interested in her whilst he was trying to save the estate. But nonetheless, it works because it's been addressed that he was there. He did go and visit. So it makes sense they do like a little jokey thing anyway, which they did. And ultimately, he leaves her put out and goes, "Oh, fine." And then she walks off and forgets about him. Makes sense that she won't remember him.
Fair.
So, yeah. But this is just a bit ridiculous to me. Sixth Doctor in that coat, and she's not going to forget that coat. And by the way, do you know what's weirder about it as well? Lady D'Souza is from when they left that universe. Jackie, the Tyler family left at the end of Journey's End, and then Planet of the Dead happens with Lady D'Souza. But she is playing. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. The once and future stuff, I feel, has just been a massive miss on what they could do with it and the potential they could do with team ups. I think the 60th is an opportunity for reunions, to bring back companions that haven't been back in a few years on Big Finish, to also be a reflection of the era and how this particular Doctor has moved forward, and how they sometimes, looking back on old flames and old reunions, can help influence who they can be now. Because, you can always meet old friends who you've forgotten about and learn new things. And I think that's a good thing, to have an exploration of the Doctor's identity, and who they can be and how they've lost their way, and doing it with War-Torn 8 at the center of it whilst changing faces in the middle of a war zone makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, totally.
But we don't know anything about which Doctor this actually is, because the Doctor shows up still degenerating. It wasn't like we heard Paul going, "No, stop, it's starting," and then it happened. We've not heard Paul's voice once. We've not even heard the War Doctor. True. We've not even heard the War Doctor once. We've only heard a mixture of the first 7. We've not heard anyone past 7, but it has to be, because it's the Time War. And I don't like the fact that we're being given no answers as to how this sort of started, while simultaneously ignoring that part of the story. So, Abby, any more comments that you've got? Because that was my rant now over.
Cravat crabs.
Yeah, I remember when you played that to me, and I was just like, I was very, very chuffed with cravats.
Crabs, crab root cravats, cravat crabs.
I like how warmly Peter said that when she was like, "Oh,
cravat crabs,
all evolving crabs," and he goes, "With cravats," and I was like, "Yes." With cravats.
Cravats with cravats.
And then later on the conversation, Colin walks over and goes, "Cravats," and I'm like, "Yes, cravats." Yes, everyone wants cravats. But I think Colin was very good in it, because we still don't know much about the curator. It's been theorized he's a really old Doctor, but I think he's like a Valiard type person. He's a good version of the Valiard.
Yeah,
Valiard is out there as a variation of the darker sides of of the Doctor's nature.
I do like the whole curator thing, but I do like the fact that they're now giving it 6 as well. Because I remember, like, beginning of all of last year, everything had Colin in it. He was everywhere. Literally, because they done that like alternate war, that was Colin. He was in the creator stuff, that was Colin. And then obviously he's got this new companion as well, that was Colin. I remember there was all these memes going around. It was like, even more of me memes. He was everywhere.
And I'm not right,
because I love 6. He's brilliant. He's so good in audio as well. Yeah, big 6 fan. But yeah, I do like the curator, but I do kind of like the fact that we don't know what the curator is.
Interesting name. But yeah, my theory is, and this is me and Dan have discussed this at great length. He is, if the Valiard is an amalgamation of the darker sides of the Doctor's nature, the curator is an amalgamation of the lighter sides of the Doctor's nature, like wanting to relax, wanting to document things, wanting to help where possible, but being understanding that there is the Doctor out there. But I feel that the reason why the Valiard looks different is because they're like an amalgamation of darker natures, and the Doctor doesn't present those often. But the lighter natures are what everyone sees in the Doctor. So Dan's theory is that the faces are exactly the same, but they're retired versions of the faces, which is why they look more like the ages of the actors. So Tom looks older because it's a retired Doctor. That's what the curator's meant to be. It's a retired Doctor, but not the Doctor necessarily, but is kind of attached by that cycle. That's why Colin looks older. I'd be interested to see if they'd ever do a curator with the face of Peter. They seem to have jumped one. But Colin has a very kind of... Thing is, both Bakers have the ability to have a kind of air of mystery about them.
Yeah.
Tom's got the kind of spooky gothic mystery about with his such a unique voice. Colin has got the warmth with it, but he's like the kind of warm old grandfather man who kind of has got all
100%.
his secrets.
The grandfather man.
Yeah, but you can see him. You can see yourself sitting down next to his armchair and him going, "Oh well, I'll let you know later." For now, you know what I mean. You get that vibe that he's got a mystery about him. But he's so warm. Whereas with Tom, he'd be like with like shadows around him, going, "Oh my,
the spooky stuff."
Yeah. What will happen next in the ether? And then you'll be like, "Oh my god!" Meanwhile, Colin's like, "Look at the way the waves crash across the beach. So soothing." You say this like you've done this before. Oh well, I'll let you know later about that. It's like it's all very nice and you know what I mean. It's very nice and warm, and any mysteries are warm mysteries with him, and I kind of like that. And it'd be interesting to see because now, obviously, with the introduction of the Guardians of the Edge, who are basically also the curator, but living on the edge of a cliff. You know what I mean? Like, hang on,
that's what he does in his off days.
Yeah, I'm like, hello. Like, oh. But
I'm not in the art gallery today. I'm going to go sit on the edge. Where are my robes?
Although apparently Stephen Moffat did tell Nick Briggs what the curator is, and they said, you can do what you want with it, but I'd only ask if you could keep it a secret for as long as possible.
Fair.
Because he'd like there to still be a bit of mystery about it, because the Doctor is losing so much mystery nowadays. That he's like, can we have someone with the same faces as the Doctor at least, who has a bit of mystery to still inject that? Is it the Doctor or isn't it? And how would it be the Doctor? Therefore, you've got a bit of mystery around the character again. But apparently they know exactly who the curator is, and Moffat always knew.
Doesn't surprise me, to be fair.
Anyway, I asked you any more comments and proceeded to interrupt you again. Oh, yes?
No. It was nice. It was nice having Georgia back.
Yeah. I hope they do a Jenny Volume 3 because I do think she's quite good.
I do like Georgia. She's another injection of like hyperactivity. I always feel like she's very bouncy. We love a bit of Jenny.
But she's also really good working with her own father. I think it's because she also gets to tease him a little bit, and because Peter's performance with it is a little bit like he was a bit cravatty, going, "Oh no." And she's like, "Oh, come on." And he's like, "Oh."
She's like, "Come on, Dad."
And he's like, "Well, I don't think, strictly speaking, and you shouldn't be doing this." And all this other stuff. And he goes, "Oh, yeah.
I'm disapproving."
Because they actually met in the Legacy of Time box set for the first time.
Yes, they did, yeah.
And it's where he learns basically
I like that one. It's pretty good.
That she is his daughter, but not quite by the right means. But they are biologically, she is a descendant. And then this is how they know each other here, but he's still like, am I or aren't you? Or who am I? And who are you? All this sort of stuff. I mean, while Colin's like, hello, daughter. And you're like, oh. You're like, oh my. Yeah. But yes.
It makes you question about 10 though, I feel. You know, like when she steps out the pod and he's like, that's my daughter. It's like, does he know that that's his daughter because of all these
Well, this is the thing. And this is where the issue rises. Because people can argue, oh, he'll have forgotten. He'll have forgotten by then.
He's had the Time War. He's been the 8th Doctor.
But do you remember that minisode called Time Crash? Where where 5 remembered watching 10 do exactly what he did on the console.
That's true, yeah.
So he can actually remember that. Then therefore he can remember Jenny.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. So when she steps out and he sees her, he's like, "Oh, that's my daughter. I met her when I was 5."
The thing is, it also depends on the Doctor's mood, because that 10th Doctor is a bit of a rogue element at this stage anyway in his life. He's lost Rose. Martha is here, but not interested in really being
She's
around
busy
him.
playing with a fish.
Yeah, the Hath. I still think. We're going off subject, but I still think the Doctor's daughter was one of Freema's best performances. When that Hath drowned, her reaction, I was like, "That's like
100%." That showed how good she was at acting. That one episode, they didn't use her to her full potential.
No, but that's the thing. When honestly, she was crying over a guy, like a very tall man in a fish mask. And she did it so well, like
while they gargled at her.
Yeah, and she's like, But then, but it's the fact that it's the fact that as well that it's the fact that we're going to get too deep into the Hath now, but it's the fact that the Hath they didn't know who she was, but they saved her life completely without question. And then she tried to save him, but was too late to turn around and get herself positioned that he drowned for her, not knowing who really she was. And it's such a good scene when she, like, honestly, I'm surprised she's not more traumatized.
Fair. She's nightmares about drowning fish.
Yeah. Hashtag justice for the Hath.
Have you listened to the Martha box? Because I haven't. I haven't got it. I feel like I need to get it.
How about this? How about this? Next month we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'm up for that. Martha, justice for Martha.
It's actually quite a good box set. It's not. It's standalone. It's a one-off. I hope, because you can't fit much more into that year. And it's weird.
Oh yeah, because it's when she's left, isn't she?
It's the year of Martha Jones.
Yeah, that was a really big tangent. So yeah, that audio was all right.
Yeah. Good story, but just doesn't belong in this set.
Yeah.
I still loved listening to it, but I'm sat there going, how does this fit in with anything of the information we've been given?
Yeah, exactly.
It could have been a separate thing. Oh well. Anyway, thank you for listening. And anything else you want to add, Abi? No?
No, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No worries. And I return to myself and Eamon in the future, but we've already recorded it, so it's in the past. Farewell.
Bye.
So, is that a past you or a future you?
Past. And welcome back to the podcast, where we are going to have a little bit of an epilogue, aren't we? A bit of a conclusion, as we may call it.
Yes.
How do you think this podcast has gone, Eamon? Do you think it's gone well?
I think it's gone good. Yeah.
Yes, I concur.
I think it's been wonderful.
Indeed. And I think we had some good discussions. Meddlesome, of course, has taken a while to get made. It's taken about 2 years. You play 3 characters in that. You're in 3 out of 4 episodes, and you're playing someone different every time. And of course, it's a volume that I edited the first episode for, and then Abi edited the remaining 3 for me, which I'm very grateful for. Yeah, it's something where it's very much a diverse amount of cast and crew involved. I say that, very diverse, but then you are in 3 out of 4 episodes, like playing different characters each time. Yeah. But nonetheless, I think I'm looking forward to that coming out. I'm looking forward to seeing what people's reactions are to it. It's had a good reaction from what I've seen within like fan discords that I'm a part of. It's had quite a good reaction. It's been quite hyped up. We haven't seen the Josh Griggs version of the monk in maybe it can't be like it might have been a year and a bit. I think it was recorded 2 years ago, but we're now here where we've now got this monk dedicated volume coming out, which is good. And you're going to be carrying on working on some more like Kiwi Doctor Dwem stuff.
Yeah,
You've been
more
busy?
Kiwi Doctor. Yeah, no. So, I'm currently in discussion. I'm currently talking with Anthony Tremaine, who's making the soundtrack for volumes 2 onwards. Very excited to hear what he's done. He's created some really cool stuff. And I'm beginning work editing volume 3. I'm pretty much cast the entirety of season 1 now.
That's good.
Yeah. No, so it's exciting. I should hopefully have most of the season done by next month.
Hooray!
I'll probably be editing while I'm at yours, and there's a chance I'll edit the final episode while I'm at yours, which will be interesting. You get to hear how it all wraps up, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
It's been in my head since 2020, so it would be really cool to finally see it all come together.
Yeah, that's nice. That's cool, man. But nonetheless, thank you all for listening. I very much enjoyed it. And thank you. I hope that you've enjoyed it also. And yes, Eamon, do you have anything else you wish to talk about?
Not really. I think we've kind of got everything sorted.
Oh, very well. Very well.
We've got through everything.
And of course, thank you to our Patreons, Anya Coyle, Peter Scott, TT Productions 23, Chelsea Lagan, Delta Effects, and Joe Eddings. And we will see you next month, where possibly, depending on our schedules, we might be sat together, Eamon. We might be sat next to one another. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows indeed? Who knows indeed? Now, farewell, everyone.
Farewell. Goodbye.
Is anybody out there? I am calling out to those still out there. This is a guardian of time.